Hey everyone, today I'm actually going to be talking about a topic that I've heard plenty of times on the internet, but I think it's time that I should do my take on it, especially since I'm into powerlifting and martial arts, and that is your ability to be aggressive and or integrate your shadow, but I'm going to do the aggression part of it right now. The shadow part I'll do probably in a different video. So a lot of people, I remember when I was in school, there was this huge thing where a lot of people saw it as being virtuous or being, the bigger person for not defending yourself. If you were bullied, you were expected to just sit there and kind of take it. But if you, and everybody would say that, yeah, if you're, how should I say? They would say that if you're allowing yourself to get picked on and you're not fighting back, the whole turn the other cheek mentality, and you're basically just letting yourself get abused, then they would say that, you're the virtuous person, you're the better person, you're the bigger man. But the thing is that's not true. I know for a fact that's not true, because any time that I had gotten back in school, that I had gotten into an altercation or a fight with somebody, it was always when afterwards they would basically never pick on me, or at least it would be toned down. So those people were always seen as being, back in school they would constantly try to tell us this BS of, oh, you're the bigger person for allowing yourself to get abused, and inherently through nature we know that that is not true. The person who's sitting there allowing themselves to get beaten or insulted, and they don't stand up for themselves, is not the bigger person. I think there's a difference between ignoring them and walking away versus being a coward who just sits there and lets themselves get abused. And quite frankly, I know for a fact that part of the reason why I was never really physically really abused like some of the other kids in school was because of the fact that I would fight back. I remember there was a time where this kid, let's call him Ali for privacy's sake, but no, not Muhammad Ali, because Muhammad Ali would have beaten those guys' ass. There was a time where this kid was straight up jumped in school. I remember, it's very key because this happened a couple of times, not with just him, but with a couple of students. And it's very important because the students who did get expelled got expelled for the stupidest things. Typically, it usually was never a fight or jumping somebody, because this kid Ali, he was going to class one day, and he was kind of like me, just skinny black kid who was like, being the jokester and all that kind of stuff. He was a cool guy. I like him. I've actually met him recently again in the last year, and I've seen that he's like started to bulk up. He's starting to like put on some muscle, and he said the same about me. And he, is a cool guy. But what the problem was that at the time he was definitely not a super tough kid. He was definitely more of like, I don't want to say a pushover, but again, more of the jokester type. And he would just basically sit there and just make jokes, and he was lighthearted and pretty cool with everybody. The problem was that after a couple of times of doing this, and after a few years of him being there at the same school, as we went through to a K-8 school, there was one day where I guess he was talking to these three kids who were constantly bullying other kids, and they basically just jumped him one day. There was one day, I don't even know how this happened, but the teachers had told us about it, because then they, had this thing of, oh, go and tell the teachers, but most people don't ever tell the teachers, because they're too afraid to tell the teacher, and then the bullying continues, or that they're going to get outcasted by the other kids by being declared as a snitch. But I mean, personally, I didn't care. I was just like, you know what, you guys are going to bully me. I could care less. I'm not going to fight you. So I would just go to the teacher and tell them, like, hey, this guy's trying to fight me. Can you do something about it? But that wasn't always the case. There were plenty of times where I definitely fought for myself. And it was pretty painful. It was pretty rough, especially not knowing martial arts at the time, and especially not being a kid who was not very strong or defensive. So what had happened was, he was, I guess, trying to make jokes with these guys, and they just straight up jumped him. They just beat him, not really senselessly. They didn't hospitalize him or anything, but they beat him to the point that I think he didn't come back to school for a couple of days after that. And those kids were just put in detention. They were basically fine after. And it's sad because this injustice could have been solved if somebody who would have defended him, or better yet, if he had defended himself, and nothing, and that would have probably broke out into a fight. But fight only ends when one person gives up or when one person stops fighting. As long as you continue fighting, and it's basically going to be a battle forever, because life, as the saying goes, is more like wrestling than dancing. You're going to have to fight people for your entire life. You're gonna have to fight people all the time. Fight with people. Maybe not physically. You may not have to like beat somebody or kill anybody. I hope not. Don't ever try to kill somebody unless they're trying to kill you. But that's a whole different topic that I'll get into. Self-defense. But the thing is that when it comes to defending yourself, you have to be aggressive. But you can't let that aggression turn you into a bully yourself. You still have to have boundaries. You still have to be careful with how you go about things. But you shouldn't try to just beat the hell out of people for no reason. You should try to defend yourself. Personally, I always had a strong male role model, which was my dad, especially after I, hit puberty and became a teenager. But even before that, I would still fight. Like, if I ever got into a fight, it was because my parents basically told me, defend yourself. They wouldn't tell me, go out of your way to beat the hell out of people. But a lot of people need to stop being people pleasers and need to just start defending themselves, okay? You need to have aggression, because that aggression, when you are put in a dangerous situation, can help you. For example, one of the best quotes that I personally like comes from God of War, and it was Kratos telling Atreus about anger and about how anger can be a weapon, but if it gets out of control, it's going to end up destroying everything and everyone around you. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. I'll probably just put in the clip here.
Anger can be a weapon if you control it, use it. You clearly cannot. Your anger, you can get lost in it.
But the thing is that this happened multiple times, and I've seen, apparently this is more of a worldwide phenomenon than I thought. I was just watching Hamza, and he was talking about that, and he's all the way out in Britain, where him and a couple of his friends as adults, like his friends that he's made as adults, when they were kids, they were bullied. Some of them were straight up beaten up, some were jumped. And most of the time it came from people who were told, like, don't fight back. You're the bigger person if you just sit there and take it. Turn the other cheek mentality. And even my grandparents were like that. And it's sad because, ironically, a couple of my grandparents were like that, but my parents were not. They were absolutely not, because they saw just how bad people can be in the suburbs, in the countryside, all that kind of stuff. And they would do what they had to in order to defend themselves. A lot of people in the modern world, I think, aren't willing to do that. And that is what leads to so many people becoming pushovers in their lives, is because they never stood up for themselves as kids, or when they were kids, that aggression was basically conditioned out of them. I remember seeing a video, if I can find it, I'll actually share it. There's a video of this woman who has, I think, twin daughters. One of the daughters is kicking the other, and she's being mean to her and basically bullying her. And the other one gets pissed off, and she goes over and shoves her. And the first girl who was bullying the second girl stops. But the mom recording the video, not breaking up the fight, not saying, okay, stop, or just letting it happen, because sometimes you gotta let kids snap back. You gotta let kids, and even dogs, like the one that's bullying, you have to let the victim or the one that's getting bullied snap back at him, because it'll get that one who's bullying them to stop. So when that happened, she told the girl who was getting harassed, that's not how we do that. You don't push or kick your sister. And a lot of people in the comments were flaming her, because the only reason she did that was because she was being harassed by her sister or her friend or whatever. She was being harassed by the other little girl. And it's sad, because this type of mentality is the exact reason why so many people become pushovers in their lives, is because they're conditioned from a very young age not to take initiative to defend themselves. I've actually had a few teachers who I really like, shout out 8th grade. I don't know if I should say his name. I'll probably say it on later. But one of my teachers said, sometimes you have to take that type of law into your own hands. The teachers and the principal, or even the police, are not going to be there all the time when you're getting attacked. There's a saying that my parents say is that when seconds count, the police are minutes away. And I think that's a very key thing, because sometimes you will have to fight, because if you're not willing to defend yourself or your loved ones, you are basically useless. And basically useless means that nobody's going to want you around. No, again, this doesn't apply to everybody. Not everybody has to be a fighter, but specifically as a man, I think it's very key that we do know how to fight and defend ourselves. Not saying that women can't learn how to fight, but as men, it's definitely more imperative, because we usually test each other physically, while women tend to test us mentally or emotionally, and each other. To wrap up this video, I will say that it's important that you gain that aggression to fight, because that aggression can be used to do some insane things. You can think of it as, also with Kratos, Spartan rage. That power gives him immense strength, but it can cause you to burn out. Sometimes you'll need to fight. You need that aggression about you, because that aggression can save you in very dire situations. I mean, hell, think about it. Lions typically won't mess with honey badgers, even though they can easily kill them, because a honey badger is aggressive. It's willing to fight back. Most of the time, most predators, and human beings are predators, no matter what anybody says, we are predators. Our eyes are on the front of our head. We have canines, you know? I have an extra set for some reason. Anyways, most predators will leave the prey alone if the prey decides to fight back. Hell, why do you think most herbivores have like antlers, claws, horns, or beaks or anything like that? Because even though they don't hunt, they still sometimes need to defend themselves. And a lot of the time, they're defending themselves actually from the same species as them. Most of the time, like deer fight other deer, rams fight other rams, bison fight other bison, lions fight other lions, and humans fight other humans. And it's gonna be like that. I don't care what anybody says. It's not. If it goes away, it ain't going away anytime soon. It's inherent to our nature, and there's a reason for that. And it's because the world will test you by putting you through trials and tribulations, specifically that come from other people. And a lot of the time, in order to stop them from, you know, bothering you or harassing you or even doing you harm physically or mentally, you have to fight back. And you need that aggression to do that. Maybe don't rely on it all the time. You don't want to rely on anger every single time you're hitting a workout and trying to do a PR. But you do want to use that to pump yourself up and push forward, because it will definitely get you started. And maybe later on you can do a way where you can like detox from that and maybe not slow down, but you can use something else to motivate you. But in order to start and in order to get ahead fast and efficiently, you need to be aggressive. If people are trying to fight you, you need to fight back. You can at the very least defend yourself. I'm gonna give you permission to defend yourself, okay? If you're not gonna give it to yourself, which you should, I'm gonna give it to you, okay? You need to defend yourself when the time is right, because if you don't, most likely nobody is ever gonna defend you, verbally or physically. So that's it for today. This is more of a mentality video. I'm going to be doing more videos like that, especially at the moment. So if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe. And for those of you who don't know, my name is Rick Goodman. I'm the creator of Vexit Fitness, and let's all build a strong society together by building strong individuals. Now, if you like that video, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.